Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Wednesday, April the 3rd, 2019, 6:20 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. So I'm just going to do an earthquake report today. And we have USGS pulled up here, 280 earthquakes, all magnitudes worldwide for the last 24 hours. And of those, 22 of those are 2.5 magnitude and higher. So we're seeing a pretty high number of earthquakes, almost 300, but only 22 of them are, 2.5 magnitude and higher. So it's showing that we're having a lot of movement with the smaller earthquakes. So it's important that we follow all of this because the smaller ones lead to larger ones, as you've been seeing. So let's see what's about to come off the map. Looks like this one down here at New Zealand is the first one, and then this one in Taiwan. So we'll start down here in the South Pacific. And we have a 4.2 that struck off the coast of Wairoa, New Zealand. This happened last night at 6:42 p.m. Now all of these times are Pacific time, because that's my time zone. So it's off the coast, so it was in the ocean. I don't know if people felt it or not, but there's a little island that's between the earthquake and the coast of New Zealand, so they probably felt something. They probably did, although the water does buffer these earthquakes to keep people from feeling them as much. Next, we have oh, in that area down where the earthquake is, that's where the big methane vents are. And so we're going to keep an eye on that area, because if when you have any seismic activity, you're going to have, it's going to release lots of methane as well. And cams, by the way, for people who are not subscribers on my Subscribestar page yet, as soon as methane comes out from cams, I'm doing a methane update, a detailed report, and posting that for my subscribers. And I've done 3 now like that. I did one this morning, and they had new methane out from Friday, March 29th. And it's a very interesting report, and if you want to see it, just go ahead, and it's only $5 a month. And most people on Patreon, that's what the subscriptions are for Patreon, and you only get 1 podcast a week. And here I'm doing shows all the time, and giving you news items and all kinds of things that you're just not going to get anywhere else. So I think it's a valuable place to be, and I hope you feel that way as well. So now we've got a 5.4 that happened on land on Taiwan at near Taitung City. It says 34 kilometers northwest of Taitung City. This happened last night at 6:52 p.m. So not even seeing Taitung. So that could have caused damage. I don't know how well equipped they are for earthquakes down there, but that could have caused some damage. But it's definitely showing quaking. And see, this red line runs right through Taiwan. So that's on the Ring of Fire, definitely. Next, up here in Japan, or off the coast of their northern island, Hokkaido, was a 4.3 near Shiroa, Japan. This came in last night at 8:55 p.m., 126 kilometers deep. So what we're seeing is a lot of these have happened last night. You know, remember we had that 6.5 up here in the Aleutian Islands yesterday, and there were 8 up there when they finally stopped. So that caused a whole bunch of aftershocks around the world, reverberation around the world, and they just kept coming in. Then here's one in Uganda, Africa. It's in this lake, Lake Albert. It was a 4.5 that came in near Kigarobya, Uganda at 12:40 p.m. this afternoon. Now this is a place that we don't normally see earthquakes, but they've been getting some earthquakes over here in South Africa. We saw some in South Africa. We've seen them between Madagascar and Mozambique. We've seen them over here to the east, especially on this red line. And so we're having earthquakes in places that we don't normally see them. And in the Bible it says, Jesus said, his apostles were asking him, Lord, what are the signs of the end times? Can you tell us? And one of the signs was, he said, that there would be earthquakes in diverse places. And so that's why I'm keeping up with this earthquake report as much as I can on a day-by-day basis, because this is how we can get a handle on where we are in the time frame of these end times. So now here's one in Spain, 3.7 near Sort, Spain. This one happened at 8:29 this morning. And they do have earthquakes in the Mediterranean. The USGS doesn't report on a lot of them. If you want to really see the European earthquakes, you can go to ESMC and check that out. Check them out over there. So pretty sparse here on the west side of the Pacific. Pretty sparse. And now let's go down to South America and see what's happening. First, we've got a 4.1 near Los Andes, Chile at 11:12 this morning, 107 kilometers deep. Then here's one on the coast. It's on land, a 4.1 near Iquique, Chile at 7:33 this morning, 74 kilometers deep. And then a little further north we have a 4.4 magnitude near Yura, Peru at 2:27 this afternoon, 116 kilometers deep. Moving on up into Central America, we've got one off the coast of El Salvador. It's a 4.4 near La Libertad, El Salvador at 2:24 this morning. And then we have one off the coast of Mexico, 4.7 near San Francisco del Mar, Mexico at 5:27 this afternoon, 49 kilometers deep. So these are all on that red line, on the Ring of Fire. So those are all of the international earthquakes. So now let's go to Hawaii. Now there were some here earlier today, but they've already fallen off the map. Oh, we were at 2.5 magnitude. So let's go to all magnitudes now when we zoom into Hawaii. I knew I'd seen some here. We've got 9 here today, and we've got one in the ocean to the west of the main island, and that's a 2.5. They're calling it, the reporting station was Captain Cook, Hawaii, but it's to the west side of this bottom point. And this one happened at 2:28 this morning, 1.8 kilometers deep. So we've got 9, all magnitudes. So I'll just call them off. 1.7 Pahala, 1.8 Pahala, 2.5, we just saw that near Captain Cook, 2.4 Waimea, right up here. That one happened at 3:21 this morning. 2.1, that was at Kilauea. They're calling it at Volcano, Hawaii, but that's really Kilauea. That one came in at 3:37 this morning, and it was a minus 0.4 kilometers depth. So that's up in the chamber of that Kilauean volcano. And here's another one up in the chamber of 1.7, same place at 3:37. Just a few seconds, like less than 20 seconds after the other one. And it was at a minus 0.1 kilometer depth. And then a 1.8 down here on the flank. 2.2 Pahala and 1.8. This was at Mauna Loa. Ho no na poo. That's at Mauna Loa. At 9:34 this morning at a minus 2.1 kilometers depth. So whenever we talked about this, for those of you who have been watching my earthquake videos, when you see when you see a negative depth, it means that the epicenter of the earthquake is up in the chamber. So this one, this 1.8, is up on the side of the crater. So that means the magma is way up there. It's way up there. So to make an earthquake way up there. Or it's, maybe it's shaking and gonna come apart. I don't know. Alrighty, now let's go over to Dominican Republic real quick, and we're seeing 8 here today, so we'll just go through them. A 1.4 Hobos, Puerto Rico, all right over there. 1.6, 1.9, 3.1 in the ocean, 2.4, 3.2, that was on land near Guaymate, Dominican Republic. That was 110 kilometers deep. A 2.1 and a 3.1. So I don't know if they would have felt that. It was pretty deep, but that probably didn't cause any damage, but they might have felt it. So now let's hop on up to Alaska, and we're going to start over here near the Kiska volcano, where we saw 8 yesterday. And so after our report, well, there were 8 total, but after our report last night, there have been 2 more. There was a 4.1 at 7:51 p.m. last night, and a 4.3 at 4:15 this morning. And that was it. But if you want to see 7 days. I saw them this today. I saw them this morning, and there were 8 up here. Let me see. 7 days. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. So this is the last 7 days for 2.5 magnitude. And so we can see there's been a lot of activity around here. In the last 7 days, you know, in fact, that's just good. It's just good for us to look and see. In the last 7 days, these are the earthquakes that the USGS has reported 2.5 magnitude or higher. 325. So it's moving, and we can see big ones up here. Remember this big one off the coast of Russia, and then the 6.5 yesterday here, and then we've had 6s. We've had a lot of 6s. We had the 6.0 down here to the east of Madagascar. We've had big ones. We've had some large ones in the last 7 days. So I don't want people to become complacent and think that everything is all right, because it's really not. And this is why I had this urgency to create my page on Subscribestar and to let everybody know about it so that they could start getting familiar with it and coming over there, because we're out of time. We're totally out of time. And so I just feel an urgency, and when I'm pushed like that, and it was an inner feeling that I had to get this done right now, that I didn't have any time to waste. And so that's why you know, I'm encouraging people. You know, we're out of time. There are going to be a lot of changes coming this month. We're in April, but there's going to be a lot of stuff happening. So we got 97 on the map for all magnitudes. So let's see for Alaska how many of those are 2.5 magnitude and higher. We already saw the Kiska volcano. We've got a 3.1 near Cold Bay, and we've got a 2.8 near Kobuk at surface level, 0 depth, and a 2.7 near Arctic Village. So that means, so those were 5, so that means 92 of these earthquakes are under 2.5 magnitude. So that's what I was saying. We're seeing not many above 2.5 magnitude, but we're seeing a lot in the smaller range. So we want to watch these, and they're clustering. Remember this cluster up here that we had at Cape Yakataga? Oh, look, we've got ice quakes. Look at this. Here's a 1.3 magnitude ice quake. This happened last night at 10:12 p.m., 7.8 kilometers deep. It's near Cape Yakataga. We had a couple. Here's a 1.6 magnitude ice quake at 6 o'clock this morning at 0 kilometers depth. So I'm thinking, we talked about ice quakes where the ice is breaking or breaking apart or moving, and it causes it registers as an earthquake. So I've never seen them as ice quakes listed over here. So that is interesting. But I shared an article about ice quakes. It was, a month or two back. I can't remember. Let's see what this one is. A 2.1. And then we've got this little cluster of ones over here. But these ice quakes, and they're right on that red line. So, I wonder if the permafrost is melting there. Probably so. So, expect methane whenever CAMS is up for today. 1.4 near Chitina. Okay, we have them down here on this peninsula. 2.0 King Salmon. 2.2 Old Iliamna. Here's a 1.9 near Kodiak. See, my mouse is still acting up a little bit. I'm waiting for my tracker ball to come in. It's supposed to come in on Friday. So in this area here, we've got 55 showing, including Anchorage and the area above it. So it's spreading out. I'm seeing the movement just spreading out and peppering around. And we've got a little one over here, 2.1 near Nome at 0 kilometers depth. And then over here at Kobuk, we've got 14. And they're in the ones range. Most of them are at 0 kilometers depth. Here's one at 1.3 kilometers depth. But they're in the ones range, so it's still clustering here. It was not like it was that one day where it was 43 or whatever it was. But here's a 2.8, that looks like it's the highest, and a 2.2, that one came in at 629 tonight at 0.1 kilometers depth. So we're definitely seeing activity up there, and we're seeing more activity up here in the North Alaska area. We've got 6 up here today. We have a 2.0 near Koktovik, 1.4 Koktovik, 2.0 Koktovik, 2.7 Arctic Village, 2.6 Koktovik, and 2.0 Arctic Village. So, it's warming up there too. They're having very high, very unusual heat up here, and they're setting heat records. So I imagine with the permafrost melting and the sea ice melting, it's shifting the weight, and so that's the isostatic rebound causing earthquakes. Alright, coming down into the lower 48, we've got 2 right here in this New Madrid Fault area. We've got a 2.1 near Tiptonville, Tennessee at 9:15 last night, and a 2.5 near Dyersburg, Tennessee at 5:08 this afternoon. And then moving west, well, we've got one over here at Colorado at Dove Creek. Remember when we had those clusters over there like a month or so ago? They're back. It's a 2.3 magnitude at Dove Creek, Colorado, last night at 10:54 p.m., 1.3 kilometers depth. Coming on across into Utah, we've got this little one on the border, 1.9, and then these are both by the from Farron. They're on either side. We've got 5 here today, and the largest one was this 2.0 over here on the right side. And we had one at a negative depth of this 1.4 down here southwest of Farron at 5:29 this morning, and it was at a minus 1.7 kilometers depth. Coming on up here, here's one in the lake, Strawberry Reservoir, 1.3 near Mapleton, Utah at 1:33 this morning. Moving on up into the Yellowstone region. We've got 4 here today. We're going to start with this 2.5 near Victor, Idaho. That came in at 7:50 last night. We've got a 0.4 near West Yellowstone, Montana, and a 2.4 just to the northeast near West Yellowstone, Montana. This one happened at 10:39 this morning. And then we had a 1.7 magnitude quarry blast near Butte, Montana at 12:01 this afternoon at a minus 2 kilometers depth. So they're blasting away up there. And now as we come into the Northwest Pacific, let's look at our real-time tremor map for the last 24 hours. I've already got it pulled up. They found 8.2 hours of tremors in the last 24 hours. And we're seeing a few up here in the Seattle region and up in the bay here, and a couple right down here. But we're seeing a large cluster near Medford, Oregon. You can see them right here, and this is what happens before the earthquakes happen. The tremors shows the shaking of the plates before it fractures and makes an earthquake. So this is important. So we are seeing earthquakes up here in the Seattle area. We've got 2. We've got a 0.5, and this was at Navy Yard City right up here, and a 1.8 near Graham, Washington, and that's at a minus 0.7 kilometers depth, and it was from an explosion. So they're blasting more. This happened at 2:14 this afternoon. Moving on down into Oregon. Nothing showing up here, but we know that the tremors are going. And then, okay, so Medford is right here, so we saw that big swarm right over here to the west of Medford. And this is the Cascadia subduction zone right to the west in the Pacific Ocean, and then this is the Juan de Fuca plate. And so when these move, it can cause the tremors to happen on land. So it shows that things are happening over there. Now we've got one lone earthquake near Redding, California, that came in at it was a 1.6 magnitude that came in at 7:23 this morning. Coming on down into the Reno area, we've got Cold Springs active still. We've got a minus 0.1, 0.3, and a 0.9. Those were the ones for Cold Springs. And then we've got a 0.7 near Mogul, right over here. This is in the Mount Rose hiking area. Yeah, that's Mount Rose. Here's Mount Rose, and it's on the northern facing slope there. So where were we? Mogul, Portola. We've got a minus 0.4, so microquake at Portola. Then we've got a little tiny one over near Fernley, a 0.5 to the east of Fernley. Let's see what else we have. Northern Nevada is clear, and then we've got a few coming down in the Hawthorne area. We've got 3 at Hawthorne. We've got a 0.8 near Bridgeport. Is this Hawthorne? Yeah, 0.8. So these are tiny. So we're not going to report on every single little tiny one. Now here in southern Nevada, we've got 15, and these are small as well. Microquakes for the most part. Here's a 0.3 at 0 kilometers depth, and a 0.9 0 kilometers depth. The rest of them have some depth. Now coming on into California, here's a 0.7 near Bridgeport. I think we already showed that. Okay, we've got quite a bit of activity down here near Mammoth Lakes and Long Valley, including right down here, 1.6 near Wilkerson. So we've got, I'll just go through these that are on the map here. There are 18 here on the map. There's a big cluster right up here. Here's a 0.6, 0.5, 1.4, 0.1, 0.7, 0.3. So those are up there. 0.8, 1.6, 0.2, right there, 0.1, right there, 0.5, right here in this cluster, 0.4, 0.9, 0.8, 0.2, 1.4, 0.3, 0.3, and that's it. So they had quite the clustering going on up here. Let's see if any of those were negative depth. No, those all had some depth. But that cluster started at 1:37 this morning, and it was every minute or few minutes until 1:53. Then it stopped, and it picked up again at 4:02. And then the last one was at 5:13 this afternoon. 0.6. So 1.4 Tom's Plates, we saw that. Did we see this one? Yep, Wilkerson, we saw that. Coming on down near Coso Junction, we've got 4 here. We've got a 0.4, 1.4. This one is at a negative depth, at a minus 0.1 kilometers depth. 0.8 and 0.7. Coming on down, we have a quarry blast, a 1.7 magnitude near Boron at 4:24 this afternoon. Oh, looky here. We've got Ludlow is acting up again. We've got 5 here today. We've got a 2.2, 1.5, 1.2, 1.2, and 1.6. Now there is an ancient volcano not too far from here that can be showing some life. So we saw a whole swarm at Ludlow recently, remember? Here's a 2.3 near Holtville, 1.5 near Holtville. Baja is clear. Here's one in the ocean, 1.0 near Imperial Beach. That's in the ocean. And in Southern California, let's see what we can get on the map here. Including these at Ludlow, we have 38 today. So that's not very many, but it's showing activity. Here's one in the ocean, 1.9 near San Pedro. Here's a cluster near Home Gardens and Yorba Linda. And oh, look, we had a 3.6 down here. This came in at 5:06 this morning. So these have been aftershocks in a 2.2, 1.8, 1.3, 1.1, and then 3 quarry blasts. Where are those showing up? Here's a 1.7 quarry blast. I'm not even seeing it. It's saying near Home Gardens at 9:49 this morning. 1.0 quarry blast Home Gardens at 1:50 this afternoon, and a 1.1 quarry blast at 2:18 this afternoon. Now they're showing some depth on these quarry blasts. On this one, the first one, it was 2.1 kilometers deep. Oh, it's over here. These quarry blasts. What is it? Near El Cerrito. So that means it's down in the ground, or it's like a pit or something, and they're blasting more away. Those are 3 in a row, 9:49, 1:50, and 2:18. On top of these that happened just to the west, this 3.6, you know, go figure. That is just not real smart in my opinion. Kauai looks pretty quiet, only one there today. Here's a couple over there on the right. And let's see if there's anything else above 2.5 magnitude that we need to see. So we saw this 3.6, and here's a 2.5 in the San Francisco area near Black Point, Green Point, that came in at 5:08 this morning. So we'll look at that in a second. Now let's come up this San Andreas fault line, this red line. We're following it now, and we've got a 1.6 magnitude quarry blast near Atascadero at 11:33 this morning at a minus 0.5 kilometers depth, and a 1.0 Parkfield, 1.2 San Lucas, and we've got a clustering here at the pinnacles. We've got a 1.1 and a 0.8, and then a 1.3 at Tres Pinos, 1.1 Morgan Hill up here, and 1.2 San Lucas. So that was 1.1 Pinnacles, 1.2, 0.8. So 3 at the Pinnacles. So moving on up into the San Francisco area. Look at this. In the bay, we've got a cluster of 6. So right here in the bay here. .2 at 8:07 last night. Here's a 1.1 at 9:07 last night, so an hour later. Here's a 1.2 at 9:18 last night, and a 1.9 at 5:08 this morning, 2.5 at 5:08 this morning, so that was about 20 seconds apart, the 1.9 and 2.5, and then a 1.1 at 6:08 this morning, and nothing since then. So that's showing movement, definitely. And now we've got how many of the geysers today? 41. So that number is picking up. And most of these are 1s and under. So, anything else? So we'll zoom out and see if there's anything else that has come in for us to look at. We've got a 2.8 at Kobuk at 6:16, in case I didn't cover that. And we saw this 4.7 near San Francisco Del Mar, Mexico. We saw the Dyersburg, Tennessee. We saw that. So I think that's a wrap. So I'll go ahead and sign off for now. So I wish you all good evening, and hope you have a good evening or a good day or whatever you're doing. And until next time, God bless you and go in peace, and I'll talk to you real soon. Goodbye.